Well, good morning to you guys from here in Copenhagen, Denmark. Trevor the Aviator here, and today is the end of my Scandinavian trip through Denmark and Sweden. And with that, I have had a wonderful time over here for the past week and a half. But for today, though, I have to go back to the United States. And with this, I am going to be flying on Scandinavian Airlines once again. So, on the first part of this trip, I ended up flying on a United 757 and also as well the Airbus A350. I will put a link to the description for that video below. But to end this trip, I will actually be flying on the other wide body of Scandinavian Airlines, the Airbus A330. So I did hear that there are different experiences with these two aircraft, but we will see what it is like being able to fly on the Airbus A330. But with that, in a few short moments, I am going to head my way to the airport and I will see you guys again very shortly. But first, I'm gonna show you guys some of the highlights during my time here in Scandinavia, as this is quite a place that is worth visiting. So I'll show you guys some clips from my time here, and then I'll see you guys when I am at the airport very shortly. Okay, so now I have just arrived here at the Copenhagen airport, and it is very busy right now for the mid-morning and that, as there are some pretty big departures that'll be occurring between now and lunchtime. So let's go ahead and get ourselves checked in, and then let's go ahead and head our way towards the security. We'll see how long this takes. Time will tell on that. See you on the other side.
With the way it looked like when I entered the airport, it seemed like it was going to be a bit of a hassle when it came to getting around in the check-in area with all the people. However, though, even though it was really busy, getting through security and such was actually really quick, and because of that, it left me with a lot more time to explore the airport than what I originally anticipated.
Okay, so I have just officially gotten my way through security here at Copenhagen, and it was very easy in that overall with getting through. Wasn't too much of a hassle overall, but now that I happen to have quite some extra time available, I am actually going to go ahead and go check out the SAS lounge and see what it is like being in there. So I'll show you guys a little bit of what the lounge has to offer then.
Due to me having quite some time to spare before my flight, I went to the SAS lounge, and I will say I was quite impressed as to just how big it was. Now, for me, since I was just flying on an SAS flight, I was only able to access the lower floor. The upper floor is for, I think it's like platinum members or whatever it is within the Scandinavian Airlines system. But however, though, there was a salad bar that was featured, and I decided to take some corn and also have some pasta while having a cup of orange juice to have some lunch inside of the lounge and to just relax for an hour or so. After I had my lunch, I exited the lounge, and it was a pretty good lounge overall for being able to spend a little bit of time to just relax and hang out before the flight.
Okay, so I have now just got done with having some lunch from inside of the SAS lounge, and I'll say it was actually a pretty good lunch that I had overall. So now that I still have some time to spare, I'm actually going to go ahead and wander around the airport and do a little bit of plane spotting before my flight leaves in a little bit.
While I was doing some plane spotting around the airport, I was able to see quite a few airplanes that were scattered around, and as well even some different airlines, which is always cool to see in the airport. Some may include whether it's this A321 of Scandinavian Airlines, two other airlines that come from within Europe or even Asia or the Middle East. There is quite a variety for any of you guys that are looking at wanting to plane spot at this airport. After some time passed by, I went towards my gate where I found this trampoline in the middle of the terminal, where I decided to have a little bit of fun with it. I don't know who decided to put a trampoline in the middle of the airport, but they did. And after I got up from crashing on the floor, I headed my way to the gate where for this afternoon's flight, I will be departing from gate E129. And sure enough, right as I arrived, I was able to see the Airbus A330 just outside the window, where this will be the aircraft we will be flying on across the Atlantic back to Chicago. greeted after takeoff by an overview of the town of Dragør and the Baltic Sea that lies right next to this suburb of Copenhagen. This is the youngest sea in the entire world, and it was created only about 10 to 15,000 years ago, so the water in here is considered brackish water, which is a mixture of salt water and fresh water. Not too long after, we were beginning to say goodbye to the country of Denmark, and we were heading our way towards the Atlantic Ocean, where to start things off for this flight, I was offered a bottle of water since I was a little bit thirsty and looked out of the window for a little bit while we were heading our way outside of Europe. As far as the seat goes for this afternoon's flight, it was a very comfortable seat for me to settle in, as this was one I could just relax in for literally the entire flight, which I pretty much did. And I also took a bit of a look with the safety manual, as I was a little bit bored inside of the airplane since there was nothing but blue water outside of the window to see. That would not last real long, however, as after about a half hour flying over blue water, I got to see some land where the area that is below there is northern Scotland, and seeing that area from up in the air was a really cool sight to see. But little did I realize that later on into this flight, the scenery outside of the window is only going to get a whole lot better. Once we crossed over the Atlantic Ocean was when the meal in that was getting ready to be served, where the first thing that I was offered was a can of orange Fanta as my beverage for this meal. Shortly after was when all the food came, where this contained quite a bit in this meal in particular. The first thing that I tried with the meal was the bowl of chicken, and personally, with the way it looked, I did not really think that it was going to be that great. However though, it was the complete opposite as a matter of fact, and it tasted really good. The next thing up on the list was a dinner roll, and the dinner roll also tasted fantastic. After that was when I had my bowl of salad, and the bowl of salad, like the dinner roll, was fantastic. And then the last but not least portion for dessert was the brownie, and it's my favorite part of this meal, and this I found tasted absolutely marvelous. Great meal overall provided by the Scandinavian Airlines flight crew, as I really thought it was a meal that was well prepped. After I had my meal, I took a look at the in-flight entertainment screen, and overall, I did notice that there was a decent amount of variety in terms of TVs and movies and all of that kind of stuff that was on the screen. I was not really too impressed, but I also was not disappointed either. It did meet my expectations, I'd say, in terms of variety, and was literally exactly what I thought. So there was not really anything too special when it came to this in particular. Right as I was done looking at the in-flight entertainment screen was when probably the biggest highlight of the flight came into view outside of the window, because due to the fact of our route going from Copenhagen to Chicago, we were able to fly north enough where we got to see the area of Greenland. And because we saw Greenland from up in the air, we got to see all of the glaciers that were below. And I will say, of all the places I have seen in the air before, this has got to be one of the coolest things I have ever seen. There were a lot of people that were literally trying to take pictures outside of the window from my side of the airplane that I was sitting on because it was just so freaking beautiful. If you happen to be coming from, say, Finland or Scandinavia or Eastern Europe and heading to someplace out west or Chicago, then you would have a chance at actually seeing this area, since the routes in that would go far north enough where the glaciers of Greenland would be visible from the airplane. For me, with this flight, I was on one of those and got really lucky. But seeing stuff like this is why I really love traveling a lot. Is because there are some things that you see or encounter that are just unsuspecting, and some of these unsuspecting things can in some ways be the best memories that may come from a trip. I also found out that we were not the only ones who was also flying over this area, as just above us was this Turkish Airlines Airbus A330 that was heading its way to Washington Dulles from Istanbul, Turkey. But after we passed over Greenland was when it was more water and that from the Atlantic Ocean. So with that, it is time for me to give you guys a review of what it is like in the bathroom here on the A330.
Alrighty, so now we are currently just a little bit over halfway into the flight. So we have just passed over Greenland, and I will say that was amazing. But now I am actually going to give you a tour here of the bathroom. So this here is the mirror that you guys can see. And then down here, you got yourself the sink, and then soap, and then more soap, it looks like. And then as well here, you got the toilets. And then as well, looks like a little bit of other stuff as well here in the bathroom. But overall, this bathroom is not really that big, but it's a little bit smaller, it feels like, than other aircraft I've been on. But it's still a decent size though. But I will say I'm not complaining though with this one. And it's also pretty clean as well. So this is what the overview of the bathroom looks like on the Scandinavian Airlines Airbus A330. So now I'm going to actually have to use the bathroom, and then I'm going to head my way back to my seat.
After I got out of the bathroom, I needed to stand up for a little bit because I was sitting in my seat for so long. So due to that, I took a look at the back of the cabin of the airplane and noticed just how clean the airplane looked like in general. But once I got back to my seat, we were beginning to head our way into eastern Canada, where we were starting to see land again and officially now past the Atlantic Ocean. And now that we are in Canada, the landscape in Canada is nowhere near as scenic as it was in Greenland, but at least though it was better than seeing nothing but blue water for a long time. However, once we started gaining our way through Canada was when the second meal came through, where I had a ham sandwich followed by a cup of orange juice, as a little bit of a secondary snack that was on this flight. Once I finished my sandwich and orange juice, I continued to look out of the window for the time being, and at this moment we were officially over the United States, in particular in northern Michigan. So it felt pretty quick when we passed over Canada, and overall this flight seemed a lot quicker than what it actually was, which made it a lot better of an experience overall. I don't know if it was because of me taking a nap during the course of the flight or what, but it definitely did not feel like it was 9.5 hours. But, however, though, it is just about time for us to begin our approach, and I am going to just sit back and relax as we begin our descent into Chicago O'Hare. after spending an amazing time over in Denmark and Sweden, it did feel quite nice actually landing in Chicago, as I felt very tired once I got off of this flight. Now, the timing that I did go on this trip was during my college spring break of March of 2024. And that time of the year is a really good time to visit this region of Europe if you guys are willing to brave the cold. It was about 40 to 45 degrees during my entire time over there, which was much warmer than what I originally thought. But as far as this flight goes, it was a pretty comfortable flight across the Atlantic, and I enjoyed it throughout the journey, and it was a great way to end out this massive trip. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And if you guys stayed around to this point, thank you very much for watching. And if you guys are interested in watching some more of my content, then go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you guys think of the video. And as far as the other videos coming up, I still will have 3 more videos coming at some point down the road. But until then, this is Trevor the Aviator from Chicago O'Hare International Airport, where I will see you guys again very shortly.